Hey guys, how's it going? This is Tom from UDS with another edition of the Quarantine Sessions, where I chat to people a lot cooler than myself in the wonderful land of lockdown. And my guest this week is arguably the best known guitarist you've never heard of, helping to sculpt iconic tracks such as the Prodigy's Firestarter and Breathe, as well as performing with the legendary Pitchshifter. He's left an indelible mark on music history. And this legacy continues with the recent release of his new solo album, Headwars. It is my pleasure to introduce arguably the most handsome musician working today, Jim Davies.
You're absolutely correct there. Yeah.
I mean, there's no disputing it.
No, there's no point even wasting any time talking about it.
Absolutely. Well, we've done this question briefly off camera, but for the folks at home, how are you doing during these strange times?
I'm actually quite enjoying myself. Like I said to you a little bit earlier, I've been putting off Red Dead Redemption 2 for years because I knew that if I started it, that'd be it. And just a couple of days ago, I thought I'm going to just download it and start playing it, and I've never been happier. This afternoon, I've got quite a tight schedule. I've got to ride into Rhodestown. I've got to upgrade my stirrups on my horse. I've just brought a new horse, an Arabian horse, for $1,000, which was a bit expensive, but it goes like the clappers. That's the main thing.
What's your horse called?
Fred.
Fred is a good horse name.
You can't go wrong, can you?
That's it.
But I did have a really good horse, and I accidentally shot it in the head.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was trying to revive it, and I shot it. So that was $500 down the drain.
It happens.
But yeah, apart from that, I've been doing some music. I haven't been completely wasting my life, but it's getting a bit much now, isn't it? I think everyone's sort of raring to go, but it's a bit of a tricky situation. Well, you have to, as long as you say unprecedented, you just have to keep saying that word, don't you?
Yeah, that's the thing, is you can make a whole drinking game of it by watching the news, and every time they say the word unprecedented, take a shot, the whole thing goes much faster. So that's one way of sorting it out. But it sounds like you're doing the right thing. It sounds like diving into a big old RPG like Red Dead Redemption 2 is a good way of spending the time.
Yeah.
So obviously I've listed a few things you've been part of in the intro, but in your own words, would you mind just briefly introducing yourself?
Well, I'm Jim Davies, probably more known for Pitchshifter, playing with Pitchshifter, but obviously played on quite a few Prodigy tracks, toured with them a little bit. So yeah, I think that's the main crux of it.
There you go. And in the effort of just getting to know each other a little bit better, more on sort of a personal level than anything else, if you could be a type of sandwich, what sandwich would you be?
Are you grooming me, Tom?
No. My producer's saying no.
If I was a sandwich, it's a tricky one, really, because I've been vegan for years, so I'm incredibly boring. So sandwiches are quite hard work. I remember sort of in the old days on tour, even though I was vegetarian back then, cheese and pickle sandwich or a ploughman's, nice and easy. Even egg mayonnaise, lovely. Now I'm vegan, I'm screwed, really. Sandwiches.
Is there any vegan sandwich that you ever go to?
Well, Marks and Sparks. So, the sort of shop that you shouldn't really go into unless you're like over 60 and smelling of TCP and stuff like that. But I've found myself drawn to it now. I love it in there. It's always nice and cold. Little old ladies smile at me, and I feel part of the gang now. And there's very good sandwich selection in there. So I would say hummus sort of lettuce falafel type thing is my thing. I could live off them. Absolutely live off.
That's a good solid choice, whatever your dietary requirements. But I tell you what, speaking of M&S, they're the only supermarket around my neck of the woods that are on Deliveroo. So in this current climate, I am living off M&S just out of basic necessity. So,
well, that, mate, could be far worse. I've got a co-op up the road from me, and it's absolutely shit.
Oh no!
So, yeah, it's painful. I'd rather starve in the gutter than have to go up to my local co-op. So,
I hope that quote ends up somewhere on the poster of the next album.
Yeah, it will.
Absolutely. But speaking of the new album, at the time of recording, your new album Headwars has been out for just over a couple of weeks. What's the reception been to it?
It's been brilliant. It's a weird one because I haven't put anything out for so long, and the whole way the music industry works has changed a lot. It's been about 10 years since I put any music out that's available to everyone, commercial, whatever you want to call it. So I didn't really know what to expect, and I went into this with no expectations at all. The main thing for me was just to write an album that I was really happy with, I was really proud of, which I did. And then I thought, well, if anyone else is interested, then that's a bonus. So just doing things like this is brilliant. I wasn't expecting, I didn't know what to expect. So the reviews, there's been some really, really good reviews. I'd say like 90% of it's been really positive. And the thing is, I've been doing this quite a long time now. So there's always going to be a couple of reviewers that you think, oh, yeah, I know what you're up to here. You're just trying to be the one that slates everything. There's always going to be stuff like that. But, you can't worry about reviews and stuff like that. Otherwise, there's no point putting out music because it's going to happen. You're always going to get people on YouTube leaving bizarre comments or just saying, this is shit. And that's the beauty of the internet, isn't it? So you either sort of don't put out music because you're worried about that sort of thing, or you just put it out and don't care about it. So it's been really cool, and I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed the whole project from start to finish. I went into this wanting it to be fun and just enjoying it, and that's what it's been like. I've been really involved in the videos that have been done and the artwork and getting my friends involved to help with stuff like that. So there's no pressure behind it. I haven't felt like, oh, this has to kick off and be huge, otherwise it's a failure. Just doing stuff like this is perfect. It's I just wanted to put something out, and the fact that people seem to like it is brilliant.
Awesome. So you say that it was a fun album to make. Would you say it is the best time you've had recording music over your career?
Oh, that's a tricky one. It's a weird one because I wrote it all in this room. I've got a very basic studio setup in here. You can see a few guitars there, but I've got a very simple computer setup, and it's different. Like in the old days, when I was recording albums with Pitchshifter and stuff like that, we'd go to America for 3 months, and we'd be living in LA, working with these big producers. So it was a real sort of big experience, and it was really good fun. Doing this album has just been me sat in my room here, writing whatever I want to write, and so it's a completely different thing. I couldn't really compare it to stuff I've done in the past, but it's been very. I haven't sort of felt any pressure to write any sort of particular style. I just knew that it had to be something that I enjoyed writing, and I'm always going to gravitate towards sort of quite heavy electronic rock because that's what I'm into. And then throughout the last sort of decade, I've written thousands and thousands of bits of music for TV and film, and that's made me a far better musician than I used to be 10 years ago, because I've had to adapt to all these different styles, because quite often I get given briefs for what to write, and it could be something that's completely not in my zone. So I've had to sort of adapt to write another style. So that's what was a really cool thing to do this album, was to not feel like I had to do 12 tracks that were all, organic-y punk tracks like the track called Caged on the album, or 12 drum and bass tracks on the album like the one called Defector. I just thought, I'm just going to do it from day to day and see what comes out, really. So yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Because that's the thing. I remember whenever I was sort of, starting to play music when I was a teenager, and the first thing they sort of say when you're starting to put songs together is that going to fit with, either the set or the EP or the album and everything? Yeah. And I never got on with that, because if there's something that you like, then you should play it. And some of my favorite albums are the ones that are that bit more eclectic. For example, one of my favorite albums ever is Jamie Lemon's Muscle Memory, which goes from hardcore, sludgy, doomy metal to big band, and all on the space of 22 tracks. And I think that's definitely the same with Headwars, that it does have that mix between sort of the drum and bass electronic elements. It's got these more sort of melancholic, softer points as well. And I think having that diversity makes it a better piece, at least in sort of my uneducated, humble opinion.
Well, yeah, it wasn't something I planned. I didn't sort of sit down here with a bit of paper going, right, track 1 needs to be quite down tempo and track 2 needs to be up tempo. And it was more a case of, just going with it and just seeing what I came up with. And there's always going to be tracks on there that sort of hark back a little bit to other bands I played in, like Control Z and tracks like that, which have probably got a little bit of a pitch shiftery element to them. But again, that's just part of my musical DNA. I can't help that. That's just what I like to write. But then there's other tracks on the album. Like there's one called Now You Know, which is a lot more... it's hard to describe it. I mean, I wouldn't say it's commercial sounding, but it's not heavy. It's a lot more... I don't know. I can't find the words. What I'm trying to... But it's not like every track had to be the same style. Otherwise, it would have bored me. I don't think I would have wanted to do an album of every track sounding the same. But at the same time, it's a bit risky because I was well aware that this album sort of sits in the middle of loads of different genres. But then again, that's been really cool because some of the reviews have been really, really positive and open-minded. And, you know, magazines like sort of Classic Rock that gave it a brilliant review. And I was thinking, well, there's nothing particularly classic rock about it. You know, I'm not exactly ZZ Top, am I? But yeah. it's nice to know there's people out there that are really open-minded and take it for what it is. And so, yeah, it was always going to be a very diverse album. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered doing it, to be honest.
Absolutely. But one of the truly angry moments on the album is Zombie, which is one of my personal favorites on that. And if I've interpreted it correctly, it offers a scathing critique of modern society, particularly social media addiction and the culture around that. Was this born out of concerns regarding tech culture, or do you just have a general taste for the more narcissistic tendencies of humanity? And that's my one heavy philosophical question per interview.
That's heavy. That's a great question. And yeah, I hate people. I struggle massively. So that's why I'm quite enjoying the lockdown thing. You know, I have no problem with being told I can't leave the house very often because I don't know. I mean, that track is a little bit tongue in cheek. You know, I'm not trying to. I read somewhere there was this interview, I saw a review, and this guy was going, "Yeah, he's on the track Zombies. He's saying how shit technology is, but he's just written an electronic-based album. So how does that work?" And I just thought, I think you're overthinking it a bit there, mate. I don't know. I was just thinking. It was just a bit of a laugh, really. I mean, one of the things that does my head in the most is just people on their phones at gigs. Oh, and I know it's part of life now that people are always going to be on their phones. That's just unavoidable. But I still can't get over the phones at gigs because I was lucky when I was doing my majority of my touring. People didn't have camera phones. So I can't imagine what it's like now going to a gig and just looking out, playing and seeing like a sea of people just stood there filming you, because you're not really, you're not sort of getting the experience of the gig. You should be seeing it through your eyes and remembering it, and you don't need to film it and listen it back and go, "Oh, listen to this. This is I went to see Slipknot the other night. Look."
That's what it sounds like. That is what it sounds like.
"Oh, look, this is when they done like people equal shit." So what's the point of spending the whole thing doing that? And people would do it in front of you, won't they? So all you're seeing is the back of someone's. So I don't know. So that track was just a little bit of it's not meant to be taken too seriously, but yeah, just a little rant.
That's it. Sometimes you just need that bit of catharsis. That's why I really appreciate bands like Tool that put a blanket ban on all phone recordings at their gigs, and if you're caught doing it, then they're just like, "Nah, you get kicked out." Because it seems harsh, but it does, especially with something like that, which is more of an experiential concert. It does ruin the whole effect if you have 1,000 people just with a phone light just up like that the whole time.
Yeah, and it's not good for bands either, because all that footage gets uploaded to YouTube, and then people click on it, and it just sounds so awful. I don't see who it helps, but anyway.
But speaking of touring and everything, I read a recent interview where you expressed no desire to tour Headwars. Not that anyone can tour at all at the moment, so it's kind of a bit of a moot point. But obviously you've got an extensive CV of playing with different groups, from Glastonbury Festival to the US Ozfest, all these absolutely iconic venues. But with such experience, what are some of the more memorable moments from your touring life and just playing live?
That's a good question. We could be here a while. Well, I was thinking about it today, actually. I was having to sort of write up an interview that I was doing this morning, and there was a similar sort of question. And I think I've been really lucky because some of the tours that I did were like massive tours, like 3 months all around America. So I like on the Ozfest, that was one of them. We spent 3 months on tour on the Ozfest. We'd done 3 months around America with the Deftones. We'd done another 3 months around America with an industrial band called Gravity Kills. And those tours were just hilarious. It was, you're in a really nice tour bus, you're young, and you're just traveling around America. And I just remember sitting there. And actually, this is why I've started to think about it, because I've been playing Red Dead so much. I was getting these little flashbacks to doing the Ozfest and sitting up front with the driver overnight and driving through the desert and looking around at all the cactuses and the canyons and just thinking, this is so cool. And we went everywhere, every town in America. Well, not every town in America, but the majority of, we've done it like about 3 or 4 times. So, and that's a really, really cool experience to have, outside of the gigs, because it was very easy to lose it completely, especially on the Ozfest. We were playing sometimes, we only really did like a 30-minute set quite often. And on the stage that we was on, it could start, you could be on at 11 o'clock in the morning, right through till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it sort of rotates. So I remember there was times when the roadies were just pulling me out of bed at 11 o'clock in the morning going, you're on! And I just remember sort of running up the ramp to play, and then before you've even woken up, your day's over. And then, you've done the gig. And then, you've got the rest of the day to get in trouble. And sometimes, bearing in mind, these gigs are huge. So it takes days to move on to the next thing. So quite often we just find ourselves at a loose end, and obviously things happen. And it was just, especially on the Ozfest, there was ridiculous things like Pantera were headlining, one of my favourite bands. And every day I'd go, what time is it? Oh, it's Pantera o'clock. I'll go and watch them. And I got
time of the day.
Yeah, I got to the point where I'd go and see them every single day. And they'd always sort of walk past me on stage, to get on stage. And, I had bright green hair at the time. So they must have sort of thought, who's this guy here every day? And then sort of Phil Anselmo walked past once and he went, how you doing, boy? I was like, oh, hello, Phil. Yeah, I'm good. Because I'm a proper fanboy. And he's a pretty scary bloke, isn't he?
Absolutely.
And he was like, you in a band, boy? I was like, yeah. What's the band called? It's Pitchshifter, Phil. And he's like, Pitchshifter, yeah. That's some pretty heavy shit. I've got industrial. And he's into the early earache stuff. And he's like, yeah, you need to give me some of your new shit. And I was just stood there going, I don't think you're going to like it, Phil. But yeah. So every time I sort of saw him around the site, I was going, I don't, because he's going to ask me for a CD again, and he's going to kick the shit out of me once he's heard it. So things like that would happen. Tommy Lee was on there. I ended up on Tommy Lee's tour bus once because he was quite into Prodigy, and he invited me on his tour bus, and I was sat in the back of his tour bus, and he was playing me this stuff that was, it just sounded like rave music that, the Americans have always been a bit behind. And it was like, it sounded 10 years behind what was going on at the time. Yeah. But I was just sat there going, oh, this is hilarious. I'm sat on Tommy Lee's tour bus, and he starts talking about, oh, Pammy Lee this, she's done this to me and she done that. And we ended up having this little heart-to-heart about how Pamela Anderson had really sort of fucked him over. And I was just sat on this bus going, this is surreal. I've cranked one off over your missus so many times when I was a teenager watching Baywatch. And now we're having this discussion about, and so things like that, you just find yourself in, we'd turn up into the middle of nowhere, we'd do a gig and then stay overnight in a hotel in the middle of nowhere and just sort of go up to the receptionist and go, is there anything going on tonight? And you're in a little small town on a Sunday in the middle of America. And I remember this happened once, and she was like, yeah, there's something going on. Just tell them on the door that I, said you could come in. So me and John went. We ended up in this S&M club, proper hardcore, not M&S. That would have been slightly different. That would have been nice sandwiches. Yeah. And we walked into this club in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly there's it was mental. So things like that happened all the time, and I look back and just laugh at it now, because if you're going to do that sort of stuff, you might as well do it in your 20s when you've got no ties and nothing sort of. Life was a lot easier. I wasn't thinking too much about business side of things. I wasn't thinking about houses or money or anything like that. It was just seeing the world, and playing in a band, which was
living the dream, really.
Yeah, it's privileged, and not a lot of bands get to do that anymore, especially not now. But back then, doing those massive tours, it's very hard for bands to do these days because it's so expensive.
100%.
But so stuff like that, stuff like the Big Day Out in Australia was incredible. Playing alongside Rage Against the Machine and System of a Down every day, to the point where you just get used to going down for breakfast and Tom Morello's at the buffet bar, a little buffet, going, "Oh, morning, Tom," and you're just thinking, "Is he having melon? He's having melon. Go on, I'll have some melon." So you never really get used to sort of being around, because I'm not very cool. I'm just, I always tried to play it cool, but I wasn't. I was just a fanboy. I was sort of in the breakfast area going, "Fuck me, there's Mike Patton over there," and you want to sort of, "Yeah, hi, I'm in a band as well." But I was not like that at all. I was just there going. So,
Well, on a much smaller scale, obviously, as part of this, I get lucky enough to chat to people like yourself and other amazingly talented musicians that have they're either new people that I've never heard of before, that it's really cool to hear their stories. They're people that I've been absolutely obsessed with my entire life and have shaped my music taste. And the overriding feeling you get is that they're just normal blokes or gals, and that they are super down to earth. And I mean, you've had way more experience than me at this, but as a rule, people in this sort of, if you want to call it a community of heavy alternative music and everything, they're pretty cool. Like, most people are pretty nice people. I haven't met anyone who's nasty or a bit of a dick. So
yeah, you have to remember, a lot of people have like an alter ego that they use to get into, like with Slipknot and stuff like that. We done quite a few gigs with Slipknot, and they come off stage, take their masks off, and they're just nice, normal blokes, and terrifying on stage. But so a lot of artists have a persona, don't they, they go into when they're on stage. And I don't think I've ever met anyone that they always say, "Oh, you should meet your heroes" and stuff like that. But I mean, there's certain people I don't want to meet, just in case. Like, I love John Lydon. I've always been a massive fan of him. And I've known people who have met their idols and gone, "God, he was a wanker," and it just destroys it. And I'd just rather keep the sort of, what's the word?
Better that he's well enough alone, sort of thing.
Yeah, there's certain people that I don't want to meet, because I just want to keep thinking of them how I imagine them to be.
Absolutely. But moving on a little bit, obviously, when you're not making this album, and when you haven't been making this album, you mentioned that you make music for TV and film. And I was surprised to hear that you don't often know what you've made music for until often when the check comes through the post.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your work with TV and film, what projects are you most proud of?
Yeah, that's interesting, because that's what I tend to do is write albums worth of sort of genres of music. So I'll be getting a brief for certain styles of music, and then the company I write for, it's their job to pimp it out to music supervisors and stuff like that. So I never really know. It's not like I sit here, I don't write to film or to visuals or anything like that. I sort of just write albums worth of different styles. So I do a lot of cinematic music, a lot of crime stuff, a lot of, I don't do that ukulele whistling bollocks that's on every single advert.
I know what you mean.
No. I tend to do a lot more of the moodier, grittier crime. I like doing the horror stuff as well. I get really into that. So it's quite often you never know where it's going to end up. So quite often I go through my statements and you go, "Oh God, it's on that program." But you don't care because you're getting paid. But quite often you sort of sit there and go, "Oh Jesus, not Made in Essex, please." But and then other times you'll go through it and you'll see funny things on there, like, "Oh look, I don't know, bargain hunt, yeah, I can't believe it."
Oh, my dad would be so jealous.
No, then again, I don't think my music's really suits that. But it gets used on weird stuff, like I do a lot of tension sort of stuff, so that gets used on a really wide range of stuff, like programs that I wouldn't go near, like Hollyoaks and stuff like that. And then MasterChef, and I'm not really into that. But quite often, my music, my sort of tension-based stuff is probably what they'd play in that really tense moment when they're taking the flan out the oven. And has the puff pastry risen or has it not? So, moments of tension like that. But no, I'm underplaying it a little bit. There's I've done some really interesting stuff. Lots of documentaries. I'm a bit of a history geek. I'm really into sort of all sorts of history, but military history and Romans and Vikings and anything. So when my music gets used on like History Channel and Discovery Channel, and especially if I'm watching a program back and I go, it happens quite a lot. I'll be watching something and I think, I recognise this. I know this band. And I think, well, that's one of mine. But it doesn't happen very often, I have to say. So it's just one of those businesses where you have to have a huge amount of music out there for it to sort of pay dividends. And over the last 10 years, I've written so much that I've got it to a really good level. And that's why I sort of felt like I built myself a little bit of I could take a bit of time off and write my own album without feeling like I should be doing music for TV. And so I think I've built myself a nice little cushion where I can relax a little bit. Because I used to go absolutely mental. I was in here every day, sometimes writing 4 or 5 tracks a week for years, which was good because it definitely improved me all round. As I never used to be able to produce. I was never interested in producing. I just used to like doing the guitar stuff. I didn't care about the production. So that sort of forced me into learning all these things. And so, yeah, it's been really good. It's definitely made me better.
Absolutely. And did I read correctly that some of your music has been used on Takeshi's Castle?
Well, this is what I mean. You go through your statements and you'll see some really weird stuff come up. I used to love watching that program. It's the perfect hanging out your arse Sunday morning 100%. TV program, isn't it? Where you watch this poor little Japanese fella running across a seesaw and just stacking it, and you think that's got to hurt. He's trying to sort of style it out, but his jaw is broken in 15 places. But he's like,
they would never make it over here.
No. So yeah, I mean,
I
saw that. That's quite funny.
Do you want to hear an interesting fact about Takeshi's Castle?
I do.
So 12 people have walked on the moon, but only 8 people ever won Takeshi's Castle. So what's the real achievement?
That's interesting. I thought you were going to say 12 people have died on it, which I wouldn't have been surprised.
No, only 8 people ever won it in the show's run, which is less than people who have walked on the moon. So
a bit at the end, when they're in those little shit cars firing lasers at each other, I feel sorry for them in that bit because I don't feel like that's a fair ending.
No.
Because some of these people have made it so far and nearly died about 3 or 4 times, and then all they've got to do is get to the top. And I don't know. When you watch it back now, you can't help but think there's got to be some public health and safety rules that have been broken. And,
it's definitely a product of its time, but I still, if ever I'm at a complete loose end, which albeit is a lot at the moment, I'll just flick over to challenge, and it's on at least one point during the day. So it's very good. It's very good. Here at UDS, we talk about the breadth of pop culture. We talk not only about music, but movies, TV shows, comic books, video games, everything like that. So if you could have one of your own songs, whether it be off Headwars or anything that you've written in the past or that you're planning on writing in future, what would you like one of your tracks featured in?
As in what, a film or a game or?
Yeah, any sort of film, game, TV show, anything like that. Either it can be a real thing that already exists, or maybe just sort of like a general theme of something.
Okay, well, I think for TV series, I don't think you can beat Sopranos. I still think that was one of the best TV series ever. I hate it when people say that, but it was amazing, wasn't it? And the theme tune to it is so good. So I don't think I could beat that. But yeah, maybe I'd like one of my tunes to be the background to Tony Soprano strangling someone in a car. That would be nice. As far as computer games go, I mean, Red Dead hasn't got much music in it, really, is it? And
it's very low key, isn't it? It's very minimalist.
I would say Doom, but the thing is, Mick Gordon, who does the music for Doom, is so good that I don't think I couldn't better that. So pointless. But musically, that game is amazing. Let's have a think. I'm going to say Red Dead. I don't know what it would be, though. I don't know what it would be. I'd have to try and come up with some sort of dark electronic cowboy music, which could be the next album, couldn't it?
I mean, I'd listen to that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe in one of the scenes when you're getting bathed in the saloon by a wanton woman of the night.
A woman of the night, yeah.
Yeah, that's the name. That's the track. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
in the night. Soak me up.
I definitely want to think about one of your songs while I'm being soaked up. That's for sure.
Yeah. Careful. You're going into the grooming area again, aren't you?
Well, producer saying stop it. But have you finished Doom Eternal? Because I remember reading an interview saying that you've been playing it recently.
Yeah, I did. I loved every second of it. It was mentally hard though. The first Doom, the one before this one, that was so hard. And I was playing it on, the don't touch my face level. The proper like don't hurt me, I'm a girl. I was on whatever it was. I was on the lowest level, and I was still getting battered. And this latest version, I have finished it, but like when I go down to play Red Dead, I'm quite relaxed. I'm thinking I'm going to sit here all afternoon, ride my little horse around. I'm going to go over to Valentine, buy some high velocity shotgun bullets, and I'm quite chilled. But playing Doom, I just found it really stressful. You're on it going, it's just stuff going on. Some of those big battles, you're just shitting yourself. And I just found myself legging it. Like when you're in one of those arenas, like Monty Python. I was just running round, just being chased like that scene in Life of Brian, just legging it. But and lots of jumping in the new Doom, isn't there? There's lots of jumping from.
You just cannot stand still. If you stand still, then you're basically dead.
Yeah, but lots of jumping from, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. So sorry, yeah, you climb up stuff, and it's more like a bit of a platformer. It's almost
yeah. So I did finish it, but I found it incredibly stressful and anxiety boosting. You finish the game and you just need to go have a lay down for a little bit, don't you? And
100%.
I was going to bed and closing my eyes and seeing demons, and so I did finish it, but I could not have finished it on a higher level.
No, I was the same. I think it's called, is it I'm Too Young to Die or something? Yes. Is the name of the difficulty. I was playing on that because the thing with me in video games is if it's too hard, I'll get bored of it after too long. So I need to keep the progression going. And that's why I like Doom, because it is non-stop action a minute. So you just keep going and going and going. And then, that's the end. But yeah, it's one of the best games I've played recently.
Yeah, I mean, I went from that, and then I rang Boris and said, look, are you going to stop this lockdown thing or not? And he was like, no, not for a little bit. I'll let you know, Jim. So I thought, right, okay, I'll get another game. So I got Resident Evil, the new one, Resident Evil 3 Remake. And I reckon I'd done it in about 2 days. It was really easy, especially coming off of, and that's what's always pissed me off about the new range of games, is that they're so much easier. Like the older Resident Evils, you used to have to really be careful every time you shot. You used to have to save your bullets and store stuff in the trunks. And this latest Resident Evil is just too easy. There's too many bullets, too many. Just too easy. So I was a bit annoyed at that. But Red Dead is just perfect, isn't it? Absolutely perfect.
I mean, it was definitely my favourite game for the longest time. Probably still is up there. Is that or Simpsons Hit and Run, because that's just immortal in my opinion. But yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2, seriously, I could lose weeks on end just exploring it, and you still would do the same thing twice.
Well, the thing is, I've been trying to ration myself from playing it too much because I want it to last for as long as possible. Like yesterday, I was on it all afternoon, just doing little chores, getting some new stirrups, cleaning my gun, cleaning my horse, just keeping things, maintenance, really, just maintenance. And I've done a few little missions. I reckon I was playing it for about 6 hours, and I checked my progress, and it had gone up like 2%. So I was thinking, this is going to be great. I reckon I can make this last all year. So I rung Boris, and I said, look, there's no rush. Don't change things because I need to get this done. Because I couldn't have done this without him doing this lockdown, because I would have just sat there feeling guilty.
Well, that is the one upside, if there is an upside, is that it does give us a chance to do stuff that we've been putting off. Like have you ever heard of these little Raspberry Pi console things you can get? They're like little emulator boxes. You can buy them for about 50 quid, but you can put in every single NES, SNES, Mega Drive, all in there. And I've just sort of spent the time just going through the back catalogue of all of these games that because full disclosure, I'm 24, so a lot of these games are sort of before my time, and just going through and playing them again. And I just never would have had the chance to play like the original Judge Dredd on the SNES or all these other games, and it's been great. But obviously, hopefully it won't go on for too much longer. I'd like to think that you finished the last mission on Red Dead Redemption 2, get 100% it, and then the second later, everything's back to normal.
I'll ring him. I mean, I've been playing computer games since like Spectrum. Used to have an Amstrad 64. In fact, this is the bad thing about lockdown. You just made me think. You sit there at night, you have a few beers, and then in the morning, an Amazon package arrives or an eBay package arrives. You've got no recollection of doing it. And the other day, I went online and I ended up like buying a load of old Amstrad games.
Very nice. Very nice.
Like, Oh Mummy. I used to play that on the Amstrad. Roland on the Ropes. All the Roland games. I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to do with these? I haven't even got an Amstrad. But, I've got I ordered about 50 of them. I've got all these old games, so I got a bit nostalgic, and I thought, so I've got loads of these games now that I can't even play, but they're just sat in the studio, just completely pointless. But yeah, I've always been into the Amstrad was brilliant, and then I just got into the SNES. I love the Mario games as well. All the Mario games are great. A lot of my mates my age have all got children. And I realised quite early on that I needed to make a decision and choose between computer games or children. And I've chosen computer games because there's no way I could have a kid and be putting as much effort into Red Dead.
That's it.
Because I can't put that much effort into. If I had to weigh up, the kid would be sat there in its own poo, starving, while I'm sort of rushing around on my horse. So I've made a decision. I'm going to stick with computer games, I think.
That's it. Fred the horse needs the attention.
Sorry.
That's right. Anyway. So here at UDS, we like to advocate positivity. And one of the ways we do that is through inspirational quotes. One of my favorite is, I can't believe I ate the whole thing. Because if you tell yourself that, then eventually, whatever it is, whatever context, you will eat the whole thing. With that in mind, what would be your inspirational quote to share with the world? I
think on a heavy night out, this used to happen quite a lot on tour, just out of sheer boredom. When you've got 12 blokes all on a tour bus together. Sometimes we'd stop overnight in like a car park, so we'd have literally nothing to do but get hammered, or we'd find a club or a place in town, and things would go very weird. And I think our motto used to be always, the next morning, nobody died. So yeah, I would say if you wake up after every night out, do a head count. As long as everyone's still there and breathing.
It could always be worse.
What's enough? Could be worse. I think it could be worse is another good one as well. Or I don't know if I'm very good at inspirational quotes. I don't know if I'm very inspirational.
Pretty good ones. Doesn't have to be this prophetic, profound thing. It can be very much just could always be worse, or nobody died. I mean, I think
nobody died is a good one, because I think that gives you quite a lot of slack, doesn't it? I mean, you can have a pretty heavy night and just wipe the slate clean by saying nobody died.
That's it. Unless someone has died, in which case it must have been a really good night out.
Yeah, it doesn't work if that's happened. You need to.
Very rare situations, we hope. Very rare situations. But obviously none of us can plan for the rest of 2020 at all, really. But as much as possible, what does the rest of the year have in store for you?
You know what I'm going to say? I've got to finish that bloody game. And then, I have been doing other stuff, other music. I've got quite a cool little project on the go with my friend Jason Bold, who's drummer for Bullet. We've been working on some new stuff that's pretty heavy. Again, I don't think it would be something I'd do live. It would just be more of a studio-based project. So a lot of that. I'm the same as everyone. I had lots of little holidays planned. I was going to pop over to America for a week, and that didn't happen. So then I thought, all right, I'll book how about a nice little house in Wales and just go and do some running, some trail running. And so I booked that. That got cancelled. So, I'm gradually going from LA, Wales, Essex. So now I'm just sort of
the kitchen,
sat in the toilet on my own, just going, this is as far as I'm going to get this year. So, yeah, I think I need to finish these games and then take it from there, really.
Sounds
Priorities, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean, I want to try and finish the game in the 90%. But I don't quite know how it works. I know is it quite tricky to finish it and get 100%?
I think there is a lot to discover. I think that there's all these there's lots of these collectibles and these little things.
Yeah.
I mean, without spoiling it, I think it gets into borderline sci-fi at certain points in it. So I think the more time you invest in it, the more you get out of it. So I think if you're going to max it out completely, you're going to be there for a long time. And then, of course, you can play it a different way afterwards. You can play it one way as the good guy and be like, you know, the nice guy saving everyone. The next time you can be the arsehole that's just going around shooting everyone.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, there you go. That's my next couple of years sorted out.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's incredible. You can't plan anything. Any sporting events, nothing. I'm just thinking ahead to, I think you just got to write this year off now, really. I've got friends of mine who are tour crew, like drum techs and guitar techs, and they're all, nothing's going to happen this year. So depressing, isn't it? But
it is a damn shame. But on lighter note, obviously, we are UDS, which stands for Upside Down Shark. Don't ask me why we're called Upside Down Shark. It's a name that we thought up with. We just ran with it. But with that in mind, Jim, what would be your favourite shark? It can be real, it can be fictional, it can be Jaws, Bruce from Finding Nemo, or any of the sharks in the real oceans. But what would be your favourite shark?
I would say the hammerhead.
Good choice.
Because evolution's an interesting thing, isn't it? I don't know why we needed it. I mean, you've got sharks like the great white. I mean, evolution at its best, the best killer machine ever. So why do the hammerhead? It's like a shit, like version 1.6 when you've got version 10, which is the great white. I mean, I don't know. I don't see the point. But I like it. I like the way it looks because it reminds me of that character in Star Wars. Do you remember there was like a...
Yes.
In the Mos Eisley, there was that hammerhead.
Yeah, the weird one.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
So I suppose I'm going to say the hammerhead shark because I feel sorry for it. Because
fair enough.
It's never going to get any kind of recognition because you got a great white. You must just look at him going, bastard.
Well, I mean, it's our logo, so he's got a little bit of recognition right there.
That's a hammerhead, isn't it?
That is a hammerhead right there, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. That's why I said it was a good choice. It's a good choice.
Excellent. I feel, well, there you go. Me and you working together.
We're going to go
get those hammerhead. If anyone listening out there, don't forget the hammerhead.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Where can people find you online?
I was trying to think of something funny then, but it just didn't come. No. It didn't come quick enough. I was still thinking about the shark, to be honest. I've sort of surrendered to all the social media stuff. I never used to do it because there was never really any need to do it. But I set up a Spotify page, which is good fun. It's good fun sort of starting these things from scratch, really, because, you know, you see people up there with millions and millions of followers and stuff like that, and you sort of know that there's probably only really a couple of hundred there that are really taking any notice of what's going on. So I've got like a Facebook page, an artist page, just Jim Davies music. And that's been really good fun because anyone that's on there who follows it or likes it, you know, is actually interested rather than just, you know, clicking it because of some sort of automated mail out or something like that. So that's been good fun. So yeah, it's the album's on Spotify. If you haven't got Spotify, then it's just everywhere on all the digital stuff. Unfortunately, it's not CD because there's no point, is there? You can't go and buy it anyway. You can't get it on HMV. It's not an essential delivery thing for Amazon. But yeah, all the usual places, really.
There you go. Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today.
I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. And thank you for watching at home. Make sure to pick up Headwars wherever you listen to good music. And usual YouTubers sign off here. Hit the subscribe button or don't, whatever you want to do. And we shall catch you next time.